The camera phones were bagged, the police barricades were set, the glittering fortress of Madison Square Garden was locked down tighter than a presidential visit.
I mean, it was literally the lockdown of the century.
Right. But in the age of the internet, even a fortress has cracks. And just like that, Hollywood had a new obsession. Security drama unfolds at Taylor Swift's wedding.
You had thousands of people trying to keep this massive secret right in the middle of Manhattan, and the whole world was just waiting for the dam to break.
Welcome to StarScope Report. Join Jordan and Jamie as they uncover Hollywood drama, music industry shakeups, and viral influencer scandals. From red carpet surprises to social media controversies, we dive deep into the stories behind the fame.
And today, we're unpacking a story that genuinely has it all. Like, we're talking high romance, high security, and some incredibly high stakes.
Yeah, so for this deep dive, we are pulling back the curtain on the July 3rd, 2026 wedding of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce at Madison Square Garden.
Which is just such a wild concept to begin with.
Oh, totally. And we've synthesized a massive stack of sources for you today because our mission isn't just to gush over the extravagant details of the wedding, although, the details are completely mind-blowing.
They really are.
But we are also going to explore the mechanics of a massive security breach, the flood of AI fakes, and the fascinating, slightly dystopian legal reality of celebrity NDAs.
Which is such a crucial angle. When you try to throw a wedding with 1,000 A-list guests right in the center of New York City, the behind-the-scenes logistics end up being just as wild as the actual party.
Absolutely. So let's start by looking at the fortress itself, because the physical security measures were unprecedented.
Oh, complete.
Madison Square Garden was locked down so tightly that even on-duty law enforcement officers had their personal phones confiscated and bagged.
Wow.
Yeah. And despite all of that, the ultimate security breach came from inside the house.
You hear that, and you immediately wonder how it's even possible. Like, you bag the cops' phones, but you still spring a leak.
Right. To understand the mechanics of how this happened, you have to visualize the sheer scale of what they were trying to pull off. Taylor and Travis invited over 1,000 guests. To prepare, corporate employees of the Garden were banned from the arena for the entire week leading up to the event.
Wait, the entire week?
The whole week. They weren't even given a reason. On top of that, the streets of Manhattan surrounding the venue were completely shut down, which caused absolute chaos.
I can imagine.
Keep in mind, this was during a historic heat wave. Several members of the Kansas City Chiefs actually had to book hotels in the immediate blocks surrounding the venue just to navigate the street closures.
It really stops being a wedding at that point, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
It's like a massive, highly classified military operation that just happens to have a pink carpet. The logistics alone, coordinating street closures with the NYPD for a private event, requires a staggering amount of capital and influence.
Exactly. But right before the main event, that ironclad operation cracked. The security drama peaked when at least 4 union workers, specifically stagehands, were caught taking unauthorized photos inside the venue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were immediately escorted out of the building on Thursday night, the night before the vows.
And that is where the public debate absolutely exploded online. Because on the surface, you look at this and think, why on earth would workers with stable, good-paying union jobs at Madison Square Garden risk throwing it all away?
I was wondering the exact same thing.
But then you have to factor in the temptation. We're talking about tabloid payouts that could potentially equal a full year's salary or even more for just one clear shot of the venue.
You'd think management would just point to the door and fire them on the spot, but the reality of the firing is actually much more complicated.
Really?
Yeah, according to several reports, because the venue is fully unionized, these workers weren't instantly fired. They don't work directly for the Garden at will. They work under union protection.
Which completely changes the mechanism of how they are disciplined.
Exactly. So what does that actually mean for the worker? They face immediate venue sanctions, meaning they are barred from the building.
Right.
But then it triggers a whole legal review process called union arbitration. The union essentially steps in to review the breach before any final termination happens.
Interesting.
They can't work at the Garden anymore, but they might still be able to find work at other places depending on how the arbitration shakes out.
Even with union protection, though, it's a permanent red mark on their careers. If you work in live event production, breaching confidentiality is universally the #1 reason people lose their livelihoods.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, the entire industry is built on trust.
Which brings up a really fascinating divide in the public reaction. If you look at the Reddit discourse, people were incredibly split.
I saw that.
On one side, you had users fiercely defending the venue's actions. People working in healthcare were bringing up a really interesting comparison to HIDA laws.
Oh, like medical privacy.
Exactly. They argued that if you even glance at a high-profile patient's medical records without a direct clinical need, you are fired immediately. Zero tolerance.
That's a great analogy. And you saw event workers chiming in to back that up, pointing out that a no-photo policy isn't just a Taylor Swift rule. It applies to all events there.
Right.
No photos of band rehearsals, no sound checks, no pre-show setups. It's the most basic rule of the job. You do not pull out your phone.
Yeah, someone on Reddit even joked, asking what would happen if someone sneaked in wearing Meta smart glasses.
What did they say?
The top response was they would have been taken behind the shed and put down, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
But I want to push back on that side of the argument because there's a massive contradiction here. Hosting a quote-unquote private secret event with 1,000 people at Madison Square Garden is practically an oxymoron.
It really is.
It's like renting out all the billboards in Times Square and being shocked when a tourist looks up at them.
You can't command the center of the universe and expect invisibility.
Right. Users online were pointing out that stars like Zendaya and Tom Holland wanted true privacy for their milestones, and they managed it by simply avoiding massive public arenas.
Exactly.
If you turn your wedding into a spectacle that requires shutting down New York City streets, you can't be entirely stunned when people treat it like a spectacle.
It's engagement farming on a billionaire scale. You're creating a black hole of attention and then punishing people for getting pulled into the gravity.
The debate over whether a private arena wedding is a contradiction is still raging, but wait till you hear what came next.
Oh boy.
Because if you think those 4 workers got the $1 million shot, wait till you hear what actually flooded the internet and what the real inside of the venue looked like.
This is where the digital chaos takes over. The internet completely broke over viral wedding photos on Friday morning, but they were 100% fake.
Completely fabricated. Within hours, social media was drowning in these seemingly perfect high-definition images of Taylor in a flowing traditional veil and Travis in a crisp white tuxedo.
Millions of views, fans dissecting every pixel, trying to spot the guests in the background.
And it took a Hollywood director to actually set the record straight and explain why the AI got it so wrong.
Right. Director Joseph Kahn.
Yeah, he attended the wedding and he went on social media to confirm the photos were entirely AI generated. He mentioned he bumped into Steven Spielberg there, and he described the event in a really fascinating way.
What did he say?
He said it was so massive yet intimate that it felt like living in the internet, and AI would crack if it tried to render it.
I love that quote, because if you think about how AI generates images, it relies on generic, predictable tropes.
Right.
It scrapes the internet for celebrity wedding and spits out white roses, standard tuxedos, and traditional lighting. But AI cannot hallucinate the bespoke, surreal human creativity of what was actually built inside that arena.
Exactly. So let's paint a picture for you of the actual details that managed to leak to some of the outlets.
The cinematic scale of this is just staggering.
It really is. The decor didn't start in the main room. It started with a peach and white hallway lined entirely with never-before-seen photographs of their relationship.
So you were literally walking down their personal memory lane before you even find your seat.
Right. And then you get to the altar. It wasn't a stage. It was completely transformed into an enchanted garden.
An enchanted garden inside Madison Square Garden. The wordplay is definitely intentional there.
Oh, for sure. We are talking heavy emerald drapery, live trees physically brought into the arena, a massive custom gazebo, and hidden doors built directly behind the altar that led into the reception area.
Just unbelievable. And the ceremony itself was officiated by Adam Sandler.
Which is such a brilliant, unexpected choice.
It really is. He reportedly performed an original song for the couple.
Yeah, and as for the vows, Travis Kelce was shedding tears as they read from these little personal books at the altar. Jason Kelce served as best man, and Austin Swift as man of honor. And as they walked down the aisle, Candy Staton's absolute classic anthem, Young Hearts Run Free, was playing in the background.
It sounds incredibly joyful, breaking away from that stuffy, traditional wedding march vibe.
Totally.
But the fashion and the food were where the luxury really kicked in.
Oh, absolutely. Taylor's publicist confirmed the bride wore a Christian Dior haute couture gown created specifically in Paris, paired with Cartier jewelry.
Wow.
And the catering was handled entirely by Zero Bond, the highly exclusive New York social club.
You scan the room, and the guest list is just absurd. Brad Pitt, Gigi Hadid, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Emma Stone. It feels less like a wedding and more like the Met Gala.
But the part that truly broke my brain and where the logistics get really insane was the favors, the gifts for the guests.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Guests reportedly received Cartier watches.
Which is already a flex on a completely different stratosphere.
Right. And, wait for it, a 1970 Chevy Chevelle SS convertible.
Wait, an actual car?
Yes. With a custom license plate that read JST and TMRD. Just T and T married.
If you are listening to this, you have to be wondering how on earth you secretly gift a fleet of vintage Chevy Chevelles inside an arena. Like, how do you transport those into Midtown Manhattan without anyone noticing?
That's exactly what I was trying to figure out. How do you hide cars in a basketball arena?
You have to remember the unique infrastructure of the Garden. It sits right above Penn Station. It has a massive subterranean loading dock and these huge cylindrical concrete ramps.
Oh.
Yeah, they were originally designed to load circus elephants and monster trucks directly into the building. So they essentially used industrial freight logistics to pull off a billionaire's party favor.
It's an event production on a scale that most countries couldn't pull off.
Literally.
If you're loving these Hollywood twists and learning about the hidden mechanics of pop culture, make sure you're subscribed. We've got even crazier stories ahead.
Definitely hit subscribe, because we haven't even touched the most mind-bending part of this whole situation yet.
Right. We know the incredible lengths they went to in order to keep this a secret. The bagged phones, the barricades, the underground freight elevators.
The union worker ejections?
Exactly. But legally. Most celebrity NDAs aren't worth the paper they're printed on. Later in the deep dive, we'll talk about the shocking legal loophole nobody saw coming.
This is the part of the deep dive that will completely change how you view celebrity privacy and the law.
Let's get into the flawed science of celebrity NDAs. We know that the 1,000 guests, aside from the immediate inner circle, and all the venue staff were required to sign non-disclosure agreements.
Right.
I always assumed an NDA was an ironclad shield. You sign it, you keep your mouth shut, or you get sued into oblivion. But why might those billionaire contracts actually be legally useless?
That is the logical assumption. But we were reading this incredibly detailed legal breakdown, and it completely shatters that idea. Have you heard of the Beckham nanny case?
I vaguely remember the headlines, but what actually happened in court?
So David and Victoria Beckham hired a nanny named Abby Gibson. She signed not one, but 4 separate confidentiality agreements promising to keep their private lives secret.
4 of them?
Yeah. But she eventually leaves her job after an argument, goes straight to a notorious English tabloid, and spills everything about their marital issues.
Oh, wow.
The tabloid paid her £300,000. The Beckhams try to enforce the NDA to stop the publication, and they completely fail.
Wait, I don't get that. She signs 4 separate NDAs, breaches them, and still gets away with it. How?
Because judges generally despise placing a monetary value on embarrassment or hurt feelings.
Yeah.
NDAs that are drafted solely to protect your emotional privacy rarely hold up when challenged.
That is wild.
There was another one with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. They had a nanny sign an NDA that basically said breaching the contract would be an invasion of their privacy. But the contract had no provision identifying consideration.
Wait, what does consideration mean in a legal context?
Consideration is just the legal term for an exchange of value. If I ask you to keep my secret and I give you nothing in return, that's just a favor. The law doesn't care.
Right.
But if I pay you $10,000 to keep my secret, now we have a contract. Because the Cruise NDA lacked that explicit exchange of value, the court deemed it an unenforceable promise.
Time and time again, we see these privacy walls crumble. The tabloids win. So what is the big insight here? If privacy doesn't hold up in court, what does?
The secret to a successful celebrity NDA is protecting an economic interest or a trade secret.
If you're listening to this and thinking, wait, how can a wedding be considered a trade secret like the recipe for Coca-Cola? That's exactly the loophole.
Exactly.
And the perfect example of this is a famous case involving Michael Douglas and Catherine Zeta-Jones.
This is where it gets so dystopian, but legally brilliant.
When they got married at the Plaza Hotel, they had extraordinarily tight security. But a rogue photographer disguised himself, snuck in, took unauthorized photos, and sold them to Hello magazine. The Douglases sued, and they actually won. But they didn't win because their privacy was invaded. They won because they had already licensed the exclusive rights to their wedding photos to a rival magazine.
Right. The court basically said, look, this isn't a private family moment anymore. You sold the rights to a magazine for a massive sum of money.
Yeah.
So this rogue photographer didn't invade your privacy. He stole your product.
The legal analysis explains it perfectly. The court noted that the intrusion was by uncontrolled photography for profit of an event which was designed to be the subject of controlled photography for profit. They essentially transformed their wedding into a trade secret. The photos had commercial value because they were secret, and the couple took reasonable steps to guard that secret.
So if we connect these dots back to the Taylor and Travis wedding at Madison Square Garden, this raises a massive, important question about those 4 union workers who took photos.
If Taylor Swift takes those 4 workers to arbitration and claims they violated her private family moment, historically, those NDAs might fail. The court might say, you rented a 20,000-seat public arena, shut down city streets, and invited 1,000 celebrities. How private is this, really? You're just embarrassed.
But
if she claims the wedding is a commercial product, let's say she is protecting exclusive footage for a highly rumored Disney Plus documentary, which Reddit users were heavily speculating about.
Oh, totally.
Then suddenly, the legal framework flips. Those NDAs become ironclad protections of a trade secret.
That is mind-blowing. Protecting your emotional privacy as a human being is legally flimsy, but protecting your brand and your corporate assets is bulletproof.
It forces you to reevaluate what a celebrity wedding actually is in the modern era. Is it a sacrament, or is it a heavily guarded intellectual property asset?
It's the ultimate commodification of personal life.
Okay.
But the wild part is, it's the only way the law actually protects them. It makes perfect legal sense.
Right.
If a tabloid gets a photo of the altar, they aren't ruining a cherished memory. They are technically committing corporate espionage.
Stay tuned and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what's coming next, because these pop culture deep dives just keep getting more complex, and we are going to keep peeling back the layers.
It really does change the way you look at fame entirely. The curtain never really drops. It just changes into a different kind of business transaction.
It does. And that leaves us with a lingering question for you to mull over as we wrap up today's deep dive.
Yeah.
If we are moving toward a world where mega celebrity milestones like weddings, births, private parties are no longer legally defensible as personal events, but must be copyrighted as corporate productions just to keep them safe, what happens to the concept of a private life?
That is the big question.
If a guest or a worker leaks a photo, are they ruining a human moment, or are they technically pirating a product? When love becomes a trade secret, the lines between human and brand completely disappear.
You're left wondering if the idea of intimacy has just completely broken down under the weight of public scrutiny.
You've been listening to StarScope Report, where Jordan and Jamie uncover the stories shaping Hollywood, music, and pop culture. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that keep the stars shining.